They boarded as tourists, but their cabins were hiding 35 kilos of cocaine. On May 21, 2010, the MSC Opera arrived at the port of Dover. To most people on board, it looked like just another stop on a long cruise from Brazil toward Europe. A luxury ship crossing the Atlantic. Passengers moving through corridors. Luggage waiting in cabins. The ordinary rhythm of a vessel reaching port. But this was not an ordinary arrival. Because when UK border agency officers searched the ship, they were not looking at a normal cruise anymore. Inside passenger cabins, officers began finding baggage that did not belong in any vacation brochure. White powder, hidden luggage, specially designed bodysuits, tape, bandages, and enough cocaine to turn a luxury cruise ship into a floating smuggling case. By the time the search was over, officers had recovered approximately 35 kilograms of cocaine. Early reports placed the value at around £1.4 million. Later, at sentencing, authorities said the drugs could have been worth more than £4 million if cut and sold at street level. The people involved were not hiding in cargo holds. They were not crew members moving through engine rooms. They were passengers. People who appeared to be ordinary tourists on a legitimate cruise route. But across multiple cabins, investigators found the signs of something organized. Not random possession. Not one suitcase. Not one desperate traveler. A coordinated courier operation. 7 people would eventually be convicted. 6 admitted their role. One man, Ziodonis Ozans, fought the charge at trial and lost. Together, they received prison sentences totaling 84 years. But even after the drugs were seized and the couriers were jailed, one question still stayed behind. Who had sent them? And who was waiting for 35 kilos of cocaine at the end of the voyage? Before the MSC Opera became the center of a cocaine smuggling case, it looked like a normal cruise ship doing what cruise ships do. It was crossing from South America toward Europe. Passengers were on board. Cabins were occupied. Luggage was stored away. The ship was moving through a route that, from the outside, appeared completely legitimate. There is something powerful about that contrast. A cruise ship is supposed to be one of the least suspicious places in the world. People board with suitcases, holiday clothes, travel documents, cameras, and the expectation of comfort. They eat, sleep, walk the decks, visit ports, and trust that the ship is simply carrying them from one destination to another. That is why cruise travel can be such an attractive cover. A passenger does not look like a smuggler just because they have luggage. Luggage is expected. Multiple cabins are expected. People from different countries are expected. A ship crossing from Brazil to Europe is not strange by itself. It is part of the normal movement of cruise tourism, especially when ships reposition between seasons. The MSC Opera was traveling from Brazil toward Amsterdam, with Dover as a European port call. The public record does not give every stop in the full itinerary, and it does not clearly say where each suspect boarded or where the cocaine was ultimately meant to go. That matters. Because in a case like this, it is easy to overstate the story. It would be tempting to say the drugs were definitely meant for Amsterdam, or that officers had tracked the couriers all the way from Brazil, or that a specific cartel was waiting on the other side. But the available record does not prove those things. The safer truth is this. The ship was sailing from Brazil toward Amsterdam when British officers discovered cocaine during its Dover call. That alone is strong enough. Because what makes this case so disturbing is not only the amount of cocaine. It is how ordinary everything may have looked until the search began. Imagine the ship before Dover. Passengers walking through polished corridors. People eating breakfast. Cabin doors closing. Suitcases sitting in rooms. The sea outside the windows. A normal cruise atmosphere hiding something much darker. Inside some cabins, the passengers were not only carrying clothes and personal items. They were carrying a plan. The operation appears to have involved multiple cabins. Drugs were found in baggage in 3 passenger cabins, while concealment equipment connected to the operation was found across 4 cabins. That detail matters because it suggests coordination. This was not one person panicking with one package. This was a system. The cocaine was not hidden inside the ship's walls. It was not discovered in some secret compartment behind machinery. It was not reported in the engine room cargo hold, or crew-only areas. It was associated with passenger baggage, passenger cabins, and equipment designed to help people conceal packages on their bodies. That is what makes the case feel so cold. The smugglers did not need the ship to be corrupt. They only needed the ship to look normal. A legitimate cruise route created the cover. The cabins created privacy. The luggage created expectation. The passengers themselves became the moving parts of the operation. And when the ship reached Dover, that cover began to collapse. British officers boarded and searched the vessel. The public record does not clearly explain why the ship was searched. It does not confirm whether the operation was intelligence-led, random, based on travel patterns, linked to sniffer dogs, or connected to an earlier similar seizure. So the mystery remains open. What triggered the search? Why that ship? Why those cabins? Did officers already know where to look? Or did the operation unravel during a wider inspection? We do not know from the available material. But what we do know is that once officers reached the cabins, the crews stopped being ordinary. White powder was found. Tests indicated cocaine. Bodysuits were discovered. Tape and bandages appeared. The luxury holiday setting had become evidence of a cross-border drug smuggling attempt. For everyone else on board, the MSC Opera may still have looked like a cruise ship. But to investigators, it had become a floating crime scene. Not a murder scene. Not a disappearance scene. Something different. A moving border. A vessel carrying tourists, staff, entertainment, and hidden contraband across the Atlantic. And by the time the search ended, the ordinary cruise before the raid had become one of the most striking cruise drug cases of 2010. The MSC Opera was not a small vessel. It was a Lyrica-class cruise ship, completed in 2004, built to carry passengers through the kind of comfortable sea travel people associate with major cruise lines. Around the time of the 2010 drug bust, the ship was roughly 251 meters long, about 59,000 gross tons, and could carry around 1,700 passengers, with hundreds of crew members supporting the operation of the vessel. That size is important, because on a ship like that, movement is constant. Passengers move. Crew move. Suitcases move. Cabin stewards enter and exit rooms. People board, disembark, eat, sleep, shop, and walk through the ship without anyone remembering every face. A cruise ship is controlled, but it is also crowded. Organized, but busy. Monitored, but full of ordinary movement. And in that movement, criminal groups may see opportunity. The MSC Opera became useful not because the ship itself was criminal, but because the ship looked legitimate. There is no evidence that MSC Cruises or its crew were involved in the smuggling plot. In fact, the company said it cooperated with authorities and had a strict policy against illegal drugs. That distinction is important. This was not a story about a cruise company secretly running cocaine. It was a story about smugglers allegedly trying to exploit a normal cruise route. And the cover was simple. Passengers. Cabins. Luggage. Tourism. Think about how border control looks at travelers. A single passenger with luggage is normal. A group of passengers with luggage is normal. Passengers traveling from Brazil to Europe are not automatically suspicious. Suitcases in cabins are expected. Clothes, toiletries, shoes, accessories, all normal. That is what makes concealment so powerful. Crime does not always hide in places that look dark. Sometimes it hides inside something that looks ordinary. A cruise ship is almost perfect for that kind of disguise. It has private cabins where passengers can store baggage away from public view. It has scheduled port calls. It crosses international routes. It allows people to move from continent to continent under the appearance of tourism. In this case, officers discovered cocaine in passenger baggage, not in secret compartments built into the ship. They also found bodysuits, tape, and bandages, equipment that suggested a plan to strap packages to bodies and leave the ship looking like normal passengers. That is the key image of this case. Not smugglers hiding in shadows. Not drugs buried deep in a cargo ship. But cruise passengers preparing to become human cargo carriers. The public reporting does not prove that the defendants were wearing the bodysuits when officers searched them. So the script should not say that they were caught with cocaine strapped to their bodies. The stronger and safer point is this. The bodysuits were found in the cabins, alongside materials that could have been used to secure drug packages under clothing. That suggests a likely plan. The cocaine could be moved from luggage to bodysuits. The couriers could dress normally. They could walk off the ship like tourists. And once they passed through the port, the cocaine could continue toward whoever was waiting. But the plan broke in Dover. The ship's route adds another layer. The MSC Opera was traveling from Brazil toward Amsterdam via Dover. Brazil to Europe routes are attractive to legitimate cruise passengers, but they can also be attractive to criminal operations moving drugs across continents. Still, the public record does not identify the Brazilian supplier. It does not identify a European receiver. It does not tell us who bought the tickets, who recruited the couriers, who owned the cocaine, or who expected delivery after the ship left Dover. That is where the story stays noir. Because the visible people were the couriers. But the invisible people may have been the real organizers. 7 defendants were ultimately prosecuted and sentenced, but the public case does not fully expose the structure behind them. It shows the operation at the point of failure, not necessarily the entire machine. And that is common in courier cases. The people carrying the cargo are caught. The drugs are seized. The courtroom focuses on the passengers in front of the judge. But the network behind them can remain out of view. The MSC Opera itself continued to be a legitimate cruise ship. It was later lengthened and renovated in 2015, meaning current images of the ship do not perfectly represent how it looked in 2010. That matters for documentary visuals. If you use modern photos, viewers may be seeing a ship that has physically changed since the event. But the core remains the same. In May 2010, the MSC Opera was a floating cover. A cruise ship carrying ordinary passengers across the ocean. And hidden inside that ordinary world, investigators found a coordinated smuggling operation built around cabins, luggage, bodysuits, and the belief that cruise tourists might pass unnoticed. The ship was not the criminal. The ship was the mask. The timeline of the MSC Opera case begins with an arrival. May 21, 2010. The ship reached Dover, England, during its voyage from Brazil toward Amsterdam. For passengers, this should have been another port call. Another stop. Another point in the itinerary. People may have been thinking about the next destination, disembarkation procedures, breakfast, or simply stretching their legs after days at sea. But for UK border agency officers, the ship became the focus of a search. The public record does not fully explain what triggered that search. That matters because it prevents us from making the story bigger than the evidence. We cannot say officers had tracked the smugglers since Brazil. We cannot say a specific informant tipped them off. We cannot say a sniffer dog first alerted to the cabins. We cannot say it was linked with certainty to the earlier MSC orchestra seizure. What we can say is that when the MSC Opera arrived in Dover, UK border agency officers searched the vessel. And inside 3 passenger cabins, they found baggage containing white powder. That is the moment the cruise changed. White powder in a passenger cabin is not proof by itself. It has to be tested. But when officers carried out field testing, the substance indicated cocaine. Then the scale became clear. This was not a small quantity. Not personal use. Not one careless passenger. The total seizure weighed approximately 35 kilograms. That number changes the story instantly. 35 kilograms is not the kind of amount someone carries by accident. It points toward planning, coordination, and a larger criminal purpose. Then officers found more. In the cabins connected to the operation, and in a 4th cabin, they discovered specially designed bodysuits. These were not normal travel clothes. They were designed to be worn beneath ordinary clothing, allowing packages to be concealed against the body. Tape and bandages were also found. Those items created the outline of a plan. Luggage could transport the cocaine while the ship was at sea. Cabins could provide privacy. Near the point of disembarkation, the packages could potentially be moved onto bodies. The couriers could cover the packages with normal clothes. Then they could walk off the ship appearing to be regular cruise passengers. Again, the public reporting does not say they were caught wearing cocaine bodysuits. So we should not claim that. The accurate version is more controlled. Officers found cocaine in baggage and discovered bodysuits, tape, and bandages that suggested a body concealment plan. That is enough to build tension, because it shows a criminal strategy that almost feels simple. Take a legitimate cruise route. Use passengers as cover. Store the drugs in cabins. Prepare concealment equipment. Leave the ship like tourists. But the operation failed before that final stage. After the search, the arrests followed. Early reports referred to 8 Latvian and Lithuanian nationals being arrested and appearing in court. Later, final prosecution reporting described 7 defendants, 4 Latvians and 3 Lithuanians. That discrepancy is important for the script. The safest line is, initial reports mentioned 8 arrests, but the final prosecution involved 7 defendants. That avoids forcing certainty where the record does not give it. The legal case then moved from the ship to the courts. 6 defendants eventually pleaded guilty to knowingly taking part in an attempt to evade Britain's ban on cocaine importation. 1 defendant, Ziedonis Ozens, did not admit the charge. He went to trial at Canterbury Crown Court. On February 18, 2011, the jury found him guilty. Then, on May 20, 2011, all 7 defendants were sentenced. Their combined prison terms totaled 84 years. That is how the Dover search timeline moves. A cruise ship arrives. Officers board. 3 cabins reveal white powder. Field tests point to cocaine. 4 cabins reveal concealment equipment. 35 kilograms are seized. Arrests are made. 6 people plead guilty. 1 goes to trial. 7 are sentenced. And the operation ends in prison, not Amsterdam. But even with the convictions, the timeline still leaves shadows. Who organized the route? Who paid for the tickets? Who packed the cocaine? Who supplied it in Brazil? Who expected it in Europe? Were the couriers meant to leave at Dover, Amsterdam, or somewhere else? The court dealt with the people caught on board. But the full chain behind the cargo remained much harder to see. The heart of this case was not hidden inside the walls of the ship. It was hidden in passenger cabins. That detail matters because it changes the way the story should be told. This was not a secret compartment in the engine room. It was not a drug tunnel built into the ship. It was not cargo sealed behind machinery. The available reporting connects the cocaine to passenger baggage and cabins, with body concealment equipment found across 4 cabins. That makes the case feel more intimate, more ordinary, more dangerous, because a cabin is supposed to be private. It is where a passenger sleeps, stores luggage, changes clothes, and closes the door on the rest of the ship. In this case, that privacy appears to have been part of the plan. Officers found white powder inside baggage in 3 passenger cabins. Tests indicated cocaine. The total amount was approximately 35 kilograms. But the cocaine was only part of the discovery. The equipment made the story clearer. Specially designed bodysuits were found. These were garments that could be worn under normal clothing. Officers also found tape and bandages, items that could be used to secure packages to a person's body. That detail gives the operation its visual identity. Not just drugs in suitcases. A system for turning passengers into carriers. The likely logic is easy to understand. While the ship was at sea, the cocaine could remain hidden in luggage. When the ship came close to a port, the packages could be moved. The bodysuits could be worn beneath clothing. Tape and bandages could help hold the packages tight against the body. Then the couriers could leave the ship. Not as criminals in disguise. As tourists. That is what makes the 4-cabin discovery so striking. The cruise ship itself offered the stage. The cabins offered concealment. The passengers offered mobility. But there are important limits. The public record does not give cabin numbers. It does not tell us exactly which defendant was assigned to which cabin. It does not give package counts, purity, ticket details, or the exact intended destination of each courier. It also does not prove that the defendants were physically wearing the bodysuits at the moment officers found them. So the script should not say, they were caught wearing cocaine under their clothes. The safer line is, bodysuits and strapping materials found in the cabins suggested the drugs may have been intended for body concealment during disembarkation. That is still powerful, because it shows planning without inventing a scene. The value of the drugs also needs careful wording. Early reporting placed the seizure at around £1.4 million. Later sentencing reports said the drugs could have been worth more than £4 million if diluted and sold at street level. Those figures are not necessarily contradictions. They may reflect different stages of valuation, seizure value versus potential retail street value after cutting. So the most accurate line is 35 kilograms of cocaine, initially valued around £1.4 million, with a later estimated potential street value of more than £4 million. That gives the audience the scale without oversimplifying it. The 4 cabins also point to coordination. 1 cabin could be 1 person. 2 cabins could still be coincidence. But cocaine in baggage across 3 cabins, and concealment equipment connected to a 4th, suggests something organized. Not necessarily a cartel we can name. Not necessarily a network we can fully map. But a coordinated courier operation. And that is where the public record stops. It shows the visible layer, the couriers, the cabins, the cocaine, the bodysuits, the sentencing. But it does not reveal the hidden layer, the supplier, the organizer, the financier, the receiver, or the people waiting beyond the ship. So the 4 cabins become more than a location. They become a doorway into a larger criminal structure we can only partly see. The drugs were found. The couriers were caught. But the full operation behind the cabins remained behind the door. The MSC Opera case was not about one passenger making one reckless decision. The scale was too large. The equipment was too organized. The cabin spread was too wide. The final prosecution involved 7 defendants, 4 Latvians and 3 Lithuanians. Early reports had mentioned 8 arrests, but the final case moved forward with 7 people. That difference matters because early breaking news often changes as investigations develop. Someone may be arrested and later released. A charge may not be authorized. Or the first report may simply have been incomplete. The available public record does not explain exactly what happened to the 8th person initially mentioned. So the script should keep it clean. Initial reports referred to 8 arrests. The final prosecution involved 7 defendants. Those 7 were not all treated the same in court. 6 pleaded guilty. One man, Ziedonis Ozens, contested the charge. He took the case to trial at Canterbury Crown Court and was found guilty on February 18, 2011. That makes Ozens the one named defendant clearly preserved in accessible reporting. The names and individual details of the other 6 are not reliably available in the public material. That creates a storytelling challenge. In murder cases, the narrative often focuses on one victim and one accused person. Here, the structure is different. The defendants are part of a group operation, but the public record does not fully humanize each person. We do not have all their ages. We do not have all their occupations. We do not know who recruited them. We do not know who paid them. We do not know whether they all knew each other before the cruise. We do not know who gave instructions. We do not know who was supposed to receive the cocaine after the voyage. That means the story cannot pretend to expose the entire network. It can only show the part that surfaced in Dover. The physical evidence points toward a coordinated courier operation. Multiple people. Multiple cabins. Cocaine in baggage. Bodysuits. Tape. Bandages. A route from Brazil toward Europe. That is coordination. But coordinated courier operation is not the same as international cartel exposed. The second phrase sounds better for a title, but it is not supported by the visible record. No public source identifies the cartel. No public source identifies a mastermind. No public source proves the exact buyer waiting in Europe. So the best documentary angle is more subtle. The couriers were caught, but the people behind the cargo remained hidden. The case becomes even more interesting when compared with another incident that happened only 2 weeks earlier. On May 6, 2010, another MSC ship, the MSC Orchestra, arrived in Dover from Brazil toward Amsterdam. Officers discovered another roughly 35 kilograms of cocaine, along with similar body concealment equipment. That earlier case involved different defendants and a different ship, but the similarities were remarkable. Same cruise company. Similar route. Same port. Similar amount. Similar concealment method. Similar timing. But here, too, the script must avoid overclaiming. We can say, authorities had intercepted an almost identical operation on another MSC ship only about 2 weeks earlier. We should not say, it was the same cartel, because the public record does not prove that. The Opera case shows how maritime smuggling can work at the courier level. A legitimate ship becomes transportation. Passengers become carriers. Cabins become temporary storage. Clothing becomes concealment. Borders become points of risk. And when the operation fails, the couriers are the ones standing in court. The drugs never reach their destination. The ship continues its life. The headlines fade, but the hidden network behind the movement may remain intact, or at least partially unseen. That is the darkest part of the courier network. 7 people were sentenced. 35 kilograms were seized. But the public record never fully answered who built the operation in the first place. The legal ending of the MSC Opera case was clear. This was not a mystery that faded without charges. It was not a case where the drugs were found but nobody was convicted. 7 people were ultimately sentenced. 6 had pleaded guilty. Ziodonis Ozens, the 7th, took his case to trial and was convicted by a jury at Canterbury Crown Court on February 18, 2011. The charge was not simple possession. It was about knowingly taking part in an attempt to evade Britain's prohibition on importing cocaine, a Class A controlled drug. That distinction matters. Possession suggests someone was caught with drugs. Importation suggests something larger, drugs being moved across borders, into a country, as part of a planned operation. On May 20, 2011, the 7 defendants were sentenced at Canterbury Crown Court. Together, their prison terms totaled 84 years. That number became the final public headline. 84 years. A luxury cruise had ended in prison. The people who boarded under the cover of tourism were now convicted drug smugglers. Authorities also said that once the prison sentences were completed, deportation action would be taken. But even here, there are details the public record does not reveal. It does not list every individual sentence in the accessible summary. So the script should not say each person received exactly 12 years. It should not say Ozens received the longest sentence unless the court record proves it. It should not claim the women received shorter terms, or that organizers received longer terms, because the available public reporting does not give that breakdown. The accurate version is 7 defendants received prison sentences totaling 84 years. That is enough. The sentencing also clarified the value issue. Early reporting estimated the cocaine at around £1.4 million. Later, at sentencing, authorities said the drugs could have generated more than £4 million if diluted and sold at street level. This does not necessarily mean the numbers conflict. Drug values often change depending on whether authorities are describing wholesale, seizure, or diluted street-level value. So the script should use both carefully. Not, the drugs were worth exactly £4 million. But the 35 kilograms of cocaine were initially reported at around £1.4 million, with a later estimated potential street value of more than £4 million. That sounds professional and avoids exaggeration. The court phase also protects the episode from becoming pure speculation. We know the drugs were found. We know 7 people were convicted. We know 6 pleaded guilty. We know Ozens was convicted after trial. We know the combined sentence. What we do not know is the full network behind them. That is where the legal ending becomes both satisfying and incomplete. The visible operation was punished, but the invisible chain remained unclear. Who recruited the couriers? Who supplied the cocaine in Brazil? Who expected it in Europe? Was the final destination Amsterdam, Dover, or somewhere beyond both? Was the operation connected to the similar MSC orchestra seizure 2 weeks earlier? The court sentenced the people caught on the ship, but it did not publicly expose every person behind the cargo. That is why the case still has a noir edge. The law closed one door, but the larger network stayed in shadow. In the end, the MSC Opera kept sailing. The cruise line continued operating. Passengers continued boarding. Cabins continued filling with luggage, clothes, and holiday plans. But on May 21, 2010, 4 cabins told a different story. Inside them, British officers found the signs of a hidden operation. 35 kilograms of cocaine, baggage, bodysuits, tape, bandages. The tools of a plan designed to turn cruise passengers into moving cargo. The drugs were seized. The couriers were arrested. 6 admitted their role. 1 fought the charge and lost. And when the case reached sentencing, 7 people received prison terms totaling 84 years. On paper, the case was solved. The cocaine never reached the street. The passengers who posed as tourists were punished. The ship was searched, cleared, and separated from the crime. There was no evidence the cruise line was part of the conspiracy. But the sea has a way of keeping the wider shape of a story hidden. Because the public record still does not tell us everything. Who recruited the couriers? Who packed the cocaine? Who paid for the journey? Who was waiting at the end? And was this operation connected to the almost identical seizure aboard another MSC ship just 2 weeks earlier? Or was it only a copy of the same method? Those questions remain behind the cargo. The MSC Opera arrived in Dover as a luxury cruise ship. But for a few hours, it became something else. A floating border. A failed smuggling route. A crime scene without a body, but with 35 kilos of evidence. And somewhere beyond the cabins, beyond the port, beyond the couriers who went to prison, the people behind the cargo stayed in the dark.